Welcome to the Airbnb Blueprint Podcast, your go-to training hub for building your very own Airbnb business. In each episode, we break down the exact blueprint that helped us build a multi-six-figure Airbnb business from scratch, and we'll show you how to do the same. Continue learning with us for free in the Airbnb Blueprint coaching community on Facebook. Find the link in our show notes below. Commit, believe, succeed. Let's go. Now, in this episode, we're joined by Joe and Vicky from the Canine Business Academy, two incredibly inspirational ladies doing great things. And we're going to get into detail around money, how to talk about it and break it down and be comfortable with it. And most importantly, around imposter syndrome and getting confident with yourself and allowing yourself to believe that you deserve to be successful. So it's a great episode. Here we go. So we've got Joe and Vicky joining us today from the Canine Business Academy. How are we doing? Thanks for coming on.
We're all good, thanks. How are you?
Fantastic. Now that we've seen you two, your pretty faces.
In the flesh.
Oh, a charmer.
So look, you ladies are doing some incredible things in the coaching space. We're very inspired watching your journey. We kind of started out at similar times, at least in the podcasting space, and you're doing some really, really incredible things. So really, really cool. I thought it would be good to have you on and get into some kind of discussions around money, what that means to you. It can be a bit of a dirty word. A lot of people don't like to talk about it. We discuss this quite a bit in our own coaching community, right? And also I'd like to touch on what you've done in taking a kind of a physical business, which is the dog training business, which is your background, right? And helping people to take that into a more of an online space and grow a slightly more remote business, giving them a little bit more freedom and stuff like that. Because I think that's really, really cool as well. And we're all about that as well, bring as much freedom and kind of, into your life and being able to maybe take things a little bit more remote. So why don't we start? Just tell us a little bit about you, your business, what you're doing, and your background. That'd be awesome.
Love it. Well, firstly, I'm super excited to get into all of those topics. It's going to be fun. And so, hi, everybody. I am Joe, one half of the Joe and Vicky duo over at Canine Business Academy. And we essentially are business strategists and mentors and moral support guides and marriage counselors and all that stuff for anyone who is a dog professional out there who wants to grow and scale their business so that they also get more time, money, and freedom being able to do the things that they love.
I don't have the kids. I have the dogs, and I love animals, love dogs. My sister as well, who's she's a sausage dog fanatic. So I completely buy into the whole pet thing. You haven't got any pets?
No, I haven't got any pet, but we're looking.
You should go and stand outside because I'm not into it.
Odd one out.
No, got to have a pet.
Oh.
You're in the wrong room now.
So Vicky, now that we know all about Joe, who are you?
Okay, so I'm the other half of the duo, and I suppose, do you want to know a little bit about how Canine Business Academy came about then, how we met?
Of course, absolutely.
Okay, so we're both dog trainers, local-ish to each other, about 30 minutes away, and met with a joint vision to make the dog industry better, because we call it, in our words, am I allowed to swear on here?
Absolutely.
We call it a shit show, and we believe that it is a shit show and lots needs to change. And one of the things that we know is a big issue for dog trainers, and this is kind of another topic really that we probably won't get into today, but imposter syndrome is rife in this industry, and we feel like it's bred from within it. It's really toxic at times, and it makes the confidence so low in dog trainers to do anything other than the norm. So we've come along and we're saying you can do whatever you want to do. You can change whatever you want to change in your business. You can break outside the box and be creative and have some fun along the way. And I think when we think of business coaches, we think of like yawn, boring fest and all that sort of stuff. And we are here to inject a bit of fun and just, give people the confidence to create their businesses into whatever they want to, and to ultimately give the dog owners a better experience, because we feel like they're losing out because of the lots and lots of things, but that imposter syndrome thing is one of the main reasons why we feel that dog trainers don't actually perform in the way they should. And we're here to help in as many ways as we can, really. So that joint vision built Canine Business Academy. We did the podcast off the back of it, and we've been able to reach so many people globally because of what we've done so far. So, and it's only the start.
Amazing.
I feel like you're kind of bridging the gap a little bit in your own specific industry of taking someone who sees what they're doing as more of just a job and showing them how they can turn it into a real scalable business, kind of similar to the kind of explosion now of people who are on the tools, right? Plumbers, electricians, these guys. And now you've got these people that are saying, we need to get you off the tools and you need to start learning business, step outside, start working on the business, not in the business, and start scaling and growing and building a real business here. So it's really, really cool. When you say dog training, I want to get a little bit more clarity around that. Is it like, I don't know, is it also people that are like dog walkers, or is it literally like teaching dogs how to be trained and sit and roll, and like what's in more detail? I don't really know what I'm talking about.
I love it when people try and talk dog stuff and like, what
You're not
is
just
it?
teaching dogs how to roll over and play dead. I know there's more to it than that.
Yeah, so I mean, from our point of view, we predominantly focus on the training side of it because that's our experience. So collectively, we've got about 27 years of helping owners train their dogs, whether that's through behavioral issues like they're barking, lunging, growling, everything, or they're just being little shits in the house or whatever it may be.
Yeah.
But what we found, and I don't know if it'll kind of come up in this conversation today, but we had this conversation when we started CBA, as we affectionately refer to it as. It's not you can't be asked, you can be asked what our niche is going to be. And we always knew that we were going to attract trainers and behaviorists just because we will naturally bring up topics that will, I can't think of the word now, but
Like
it's going to resonate with them. That's
Yeah.
it. Will resonate with those guys. And off the back of it, through going really heavily into that niche, we've attracted people like dog walkers and dog boarders and dog daycares and all the other dog professional businesses out there, because we are clearly hitting a message that they can still receive as well. So yeah, I'm not sure if that entirely answers your question, but the training side of it is definitely more about helping owners with specific issues with their dogs versus some of the other professions, which might just be, I need somebody to come and take the dog out for a couple of hours whilst I'm at work, or they might need a groom or whatever it may be.
I think it's a great business to be in because I've always said that two things that people will always throw money at is their kids and their pets, right? It's like my dad and his wife, they've got a couple of Dachshunds also. We're a big sausage dog family for whatever reason. But, you know, the money that they'll spend on their dogs whenever they go away, you know, they'll never put them just in like kennels. They always put them in these high-end boarding facilities with their own double bed and their own little mini garden and a TV on the wall. You know, they go completely overboard. But that's how the world's changed now. You know, pets aren't just pets anymore. They're members of the family.
Yeah, but therein lies the problem, because so many dog professionals are not charging anywhere near what they should be.
Yeah.
And they're not running it like a business, and they're still running it like a hobby and running themselves ragged and working so many hours for nothing, basically. So we're here to say the demand is there. Owners do want the best for their dogs, and we should be providing that service and being like reaping the rewards of providing an awesome service for it as well. So it's a lot of what we're doing in the work that we're doing with our clients is that mindset shift about the money.
Joe, Vicky, do you find a lot of your clients coming through, you know, obviously they have their own, let's say they might start it as a side hustles or hobbies. So do they have a lot of like, you know, kind of business acumen to come with, or it's pretty much like make it as you go along, and then you have to be equipped yourself with more, you know, because otherwise you'll be running yourself to the ground, right?
Yeah, I would say they literally have not got a clue about how to run a business. It's something that we're really passionate about trying to change in that. And I don't know if this is as prevalent in other industries, but there are a lot of accrediting providers out there that are amazing at giving you the dog knowledge, and you can consume a lot of information from them and invest a lot of money and time into learning all the dog knowledge. But the business advice is shit. It's still really archaic in going, oh, just look at everybody in your local area and kind of just go somewhere in the middle. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
That's shit advice. What are you doing? But unfortunately, this is what's kind of had this ripple effect in the industry for, God, I want to say like the last 30 years, really. It doesn't feel like it's changed in the slightest. And because people haven't got this business acumen, they are going, oh, I really love dogs. And it starts off, as you say, as this hobby business. And maybe they start to make a little bit. And then they go, oh, this makes total sense. I can totally jack in the full-time job and maybe go and do this instead. And then that's when it gets really, really difficult because they haven't got a plan. They haven't got a strategy. I have no idea. I don't like asking for money. There's a lot of scarcity around asking for money. In fact, I was on a discovery call this morning and I happened to say that some of our clients invest like £2,000 with us for their dog training, if not more. And the response back from this person was, oh, don't you feel guilty? I was like, for what? Like charging that much money? I was like, why? It's that person's choice. I haven't put a gun to their head and said, you will pay me this money. If you want to come and work with me, brilliant. This is the service that I offer. And if you don't, that's totally fine. Go to somebody else. But it's that initial reaction of, don't you feel guilty? Like the poor people, the people can't afford it. Dogs can't afford it. But it's this lack of business knowledge that a lot of us have.
And I think there's so many similarities to what you're talking about to the business we're in with the Airbnb business. And that's why, for anyone listening or watching this thinking, why is this relative to us being an Airbnb audience? But it is because, we see so many people that come into this business who haven't had the sufficient training, that don't have the knowledge, that have come from an employee background. And, they've got into it and essentially all they do is they create another full-time job, twice the work, half the money, stressed out, create this huge monster and then just implode.
Yep.
So, there's a lot of similarities here, whether it's your business or our business. And it is understanding, getting over the imposter syndrome, understanding, your value, believing your value more importantly, and going out there and being confident enough to ask for it.
I think a lot of issues as well that, a lot of trainers out there are primarily like focused on, we call it the strategy. So like, let's say, for example, Airbnb's, or service accommodation is a strategy. So they just kind of focus on how to deliver that strategy to make it come alive. And then the business side get left out and nobody has a clue how to run afterwards. And now that's when, things started to kind of fall and then,
Oh my God, it's so true. So my husband actually did a course recently. I say a course. It was kind of like a mastermindy type thing, specifically for serviced accommodation.
Okay.
And I remember him saying to me, I can't wait to sign up for this thing because he'd identified a property that could be really profitable. It was like a six apartment, ready to go pretty much, just needed some furnishing. In a really good location, and it was just down the road from where we send our kids to this forest school. So it was like, brilliant, everything's great, and we've got HS2 near us, so it's like, oh, it's perfect for that as well. And he'd already planned it out, and then this mastermind opportunity came up, and he was like, that's the strategy. I'm just going to do this SA work.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, great. So he invested in it, and I knew from the start that this isn't going to give him what he wants because he wanted that hand-holding bit to go, right, you've now identified this property. Almost let's go and have a conversation with the property owner together. Let's map it out exactly what needs to happen. And of course, that's not always the case in these masterminds. And I'm looking at it from my own perspective as a business coach in our industry. And I'm going, oh gosh, like there's so many holes in this. Who are you targeting? What's the conversation?
Exactly.
That's just one person that you're talking to. So what happens if that doesn't come off? Who else are you going to talk to? What is the plan? What's the backup? What's the contingency? What's the marketing? What's your specialism? All of this stuff. And needless to say that it was a bit of a waste of an investment.
Like Joe, I mean, we get asked a lot of time when people come to us and said, can you, like recommend what kind of property we should get? And said, that's not the right question to be asking in the first place. What market are you looking to serve? what audience are you looking for? Who's your market?
What's the end result you're trying to achieve? Let's reverse engineer what you're doing, to get the outcome. Yeah.
And then, yes, the strategy comes along. And then afterwards, what about the marketing? Like you said, how are you going to, keep up with the marketing? Are you just going to put it on like the online travel agencies, booking.coms, put it on the website, hope for the best? That's not what we do. We talk about lead generation, we talk about sales, we talk about all the other components that needs to make the business work. But that's not, kind of being covered anywhere. Like most of the time, it's like, well, that's a kind of, I don't know, just put it aside. That's not important.
I'm interested to know, before you came together and started CBA, like, were you each individually confident in yourself? Did you have these beliefs around, yes, I can do this, I'm worthy, I can ask for this, I can do that? And then when you came together, you just wanted to deliver it to the masses? Or is this something that you've kind of grown into together since you've met and you've kind of empowered each other?
Ooh,
That's a good question.
It is a very good question. I'd say it's a bit of both.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. Well, we've got this saying, right, between us, and we think it's a Midlands thing, but we're not quite sure. We think a lot of dog trainers scrat around. So they're scratting for this, scratting for that, just getting customers where they can, don't really have a clue who they're targeting, a little bit like what we were just talking about there, about your industry. And they're just taking anyone and anything, hating the clients, like burning out all the stuff. And so I was that dog trainer. I was scratting about. I was doing a bit of this, a bit of that. I call myself a jack of all trades back in the day. I would do puppy classes, adolescent classes. I would do a bit of agility. I'd do stemp work. I'd do everything. Somebody inquired and said, do you do it? If I didn't, I'd create it. That was me. Yeah. And I was spreading myself so thin. And then me and Joe kind of met, and Joe's got a very, a lot more of a businessy background than me, because she's come from corporate jobs. So we came together and she gave me a bit of support with my business. And then I totally transformed the business model. Suddenly I had more time. I was bringing in a lot more money, charging a lot more for it. Clients were getting a much better service off the back of it. Everything was just working beautifully. And and Joe had already done the same with her business. And then as we got closer and this vision for Canine Business Academy came about, we then decided to merge the training businesses together, because it just made sense. We're like 30 minutes away from each other, and we just made this one amazing dog training business. So that's kind of how it went. So with my experience of scrattiness and knowing how it feels for a lot of these dog trainers out there to be taking anything and everything on, and then for Joe's kind of business background, and then me having grown and learn and all the stuff about like personal development and mindset and all that really, really important stuff that you need to know as an entrepreneur and a business owner. I feel like we've come together as a really good combo, and we can support pretty much everybody with our own experiences and backgrounds, really.
Sounds like you complement each other really well, which is actually similar to us, right?
Yeah. Yep.
I'm really good looking and Pooh's really smart. So we're like the perfect.
Oh, that's a good thing, isn't it?
I'm kidding. So, all right. So let's get into the money part. Like, I know there's several people that come to mind that when I look at them, people very close to me, actually, incredibly talented, knowledgeable. Other people look at them, not just myself, and they're like, wow, that person's amazing. But just internally, that person's just like, I'm crap, I'm ugly, I can't provide any value. Who am I? I just need to stay small and live in my little hole and just, what was that word? Scratty, scrat through.
Just think it's Scrat from Ice Age, where he's scratching for his nut.
I don't even know what that is. I know what Ice Age is, but I don't know what that
I'll say scrapping. Scrapping makes a little more sense to me. But yeah, how do you kind of transform that person and bring them from a little, I don't know, what's the word? Conquer into a diamond or whatever.
It's quite a massive like mindset change.
Yeah.
I would say.
It's the hardest part. And it's frustrating as well, because you want to shake them and slap them and be like, why can't you see?
Yeah.
cover their face with a pillow.
Daily occurrence, isn't it?
Yeah, this is why we find our role so hard to define, because a coach doesn't really, to me, it doesn't strike at connotations of that kind of mindset work. And then if you're just a mentor, is that enough? So I feel like we cross so many of those labels, really. But mindset is huge, isn't it, Joe? In so many of the people that we work with.
It's so painful, and it's one of those things where we know. Like we've just said, we know it's so integral to being a business owner and certainly being an entrepreneur. And I don't even know how to even get somebody on that journey or how to articulate it, because I feel like it kind of naturally happens. I've done a few coaching calls this morning, actually, and it's come up time and time again. Now, some of these people we've been working with for, like a good few months. And you can see that they've moved forward on one block, and then another block appears, and then another block appears. And I think the best advice I could ever give anyone is to go, just keep persevering with it. Like, it's not something you're suddenly going to do and then master. It's not like a skill that you can just learn how to do. Like for dog training, we could give you the skill if we wanted to. We don't teach you how to dog train, but arguably we could. And you could learn that pretty easily. But if you're going to tell yourself that you're a shit dog trainer and that nobody wants it and nobody's going to pay for it, kind of like that person I was talking to this morning, actually, on that discovery call, where she's going, don't you feel guilty? And then all of this stuff came out going, cost of living crisis. I'm like, is there? People can't afford it. Can they not? Not in my area. People are being laid off. Yeah.
Doomsday.
Yeah. I'm like, and we just prove it time and time again. So like Vicky and I like to go out for little like Costa coffee dates, and we go to a little farm shop local to us. And every time we're there, it's like slap bang in the middle of the day on like a Monday. And it's heaving, absolutely heaving. And I'm like, I'm sorry, but this absolutely has to come down to a perceived value bit. Nothing to do with what you're actually putting a price point on. It's what somebody is willing to pay you for the outcome, the solution, and possibly in your industry, like the product. So the state of the home of the actual property. Like if I want to stay in that, then I'll pay for it.
Yeah. And I think from what we, or maybe just me, feel with our mentees that we work with is when they get like confirmation enough times from other people, like if we can get them to the point, because I'm sure it's the same for you guys, when you say, look, you need to build a social presence, you need to be telling everybody what you do, you need to be having the conversations and getting out of the imposter syndrome that we was talking about, and change the identity in your mind that you are now this business person, and start actually saying it. Once we can get them to that point and they start putting out some posts and saying, this is what I'm doing, sharing some wins, also sharing some failures, to get people to resonate with them. And then when they get that contact or that message and it's like, man, I've been watching your journey and it's so inspiring. Then all of a sudden they're on the next call with us. They're like, oh, you never guess what happened. I got like 3 messages and this person said I'm this and I'm that, and they want to meet for a coffee. And then you just see them start to grow. So it's like they need to have that told to them almost.
Yeah, but it can be so easy for those voices to be the opposite, can't it? What? You can't charge that for dog training. No one's going to pay it. Are you sure you want to take this route? Because that's a bit different from what everyone else is doing. And then as soon as enough people are like this in their ears, it can be, how many times have we had it, Joe, where we've got somebody on the right track and they're feeling pumped and they're feeling like, great, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do something different. And then friends, family, people who have a really limited kind of, fixed mindset on things are going, oh, are you sure that's going to work? You're going to alienate a load of people if you niche, if you start doing things like that. And then they're like, oh, I don't know if I can do it. I can't do it. And then we have to go back to scratch again and build their confidence back up again. And it's funny because that imposter syndrome thing, they think actually it comes from the lack of dog knowledge, like to how to train a dog, basically. And it turns out it's actually because dog trainers judge other dog trainers. And it's the imposter syndrome it's that judgment, the fear of judgment from their peers. And it's only when you unpick the layers and you get deep that you actually realize that's where it comes from, because it could be, very, very easy for us to go, oh, go and get some more dog knowledge then. If you don't feel like you've got enough, then maybe go and do another course in this or that or whatever. And actually that is never going to help them. And we need to stop judging each other and going like, well, they've only done this course, they haven't done another course. But actually, they've probably got enough under their belt to just make a really good business anyway. And then putting all this other stuff on top of it is going to cause the overwhelm, the burnout, all of the horrible stuff that we see all the time. So we are talking a lot about this at the moment, about where that imposter syndrome comes from and how we can start to eliminate that, because that's part of this toxicity in this industry that we're seeing. And dog trainers can be so bloody horrible to each other, just vile. Like, it's really awful and sad to witness. And as a general dog owner, dog owners are really surprised because they don't know any of this. They don't care. Like, all they want is their dog training and they want their dog fixing. And we're just going meh, 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 at each other. And we're just making everything worse for the owners at the end of the day. Like, we're not providing that service that we should be. So they're the ones that are suffering. So if we actually just turn around to each other and just went, oh, okay, let's just forget all of that, we'd be so much better off. It's like, it is really painful and hard, isn't it, to get that changed, but that is our mission, to do it.
But do you think it's more like, I don't know, like peer pressure as well, like societies and everything that kind of put this, the reason I'm saying that was that I used to work in the oil and gas industries in the corporate, and obviously, I am bound by the industries, by the company and everything, so you can't really do something which is like different than other people, because otherwise suddenly you become like, black sheep in the company. And you can't get rid of that I don't know, it's just so much pressure on your shoulders. Like, if you do things slightly differently, then you're like, no, you're out. And if you have the belief that, like, I can do much more, but you being suppressed so much by the rest of your peers, until like say personally, I had like my own fuck it moment that, it breaks. And then there's got to be something else. And then, that's how like I started to learn more things about, money, about business here and there. And then it's like, and when I think when you see things in a different light, you can't undo it.
Oh God, no, not at all. And I think that societal pressure is something that is prevalent in all walks of life. So I'm actually going through, well, I was going to say going through the motions. I and my husband have made the decision that we are not going to send our kids to school. So we're going to, I've started changing the language now. I was going to say homeschool them, but ultimately it's just self-directed learning. So I'm not going to sit down and teach them anything. We're just going to learn through living life. And oh my God, the backlash that I have had from making that decision. I can imagine. It's like, oh, you're ruining, and this is my family as well, like, you're ruining their lives. You're not, like, how dare you not, are you not teaching them to read or write then? I'm like, no, they'll figure it out with support. Like, I'll give them the guidance and we read to them every day. And what's been fascinating for me this week is seeing my eldest, my 5-year-old, start to read the odd word out of a book. I'm like, brilliant. I haven't sat there and taught you the phonetic alphabet or anything. We've just done it through repetition and learning. And it all comes back down to that societal pressure of, oh, you can't possibly do anything different. And I see this a lot in the entrepreneurial landscape as well, that as soon as you decide to actually not work for anybody else, suddenly everyone and their dog, quite literally, has got an opinion on how you run that business. Yet they haven't got the balls to do it themselves. Yet they'll put all of their fears on you when they're not even doing it. And it's such a skill set I think we all have to adopt and learn to get better at, so that we can create these. I don't even want to say like get thicker skin, because I don't think it's about that. I think it's about having so much passion and drive within yourself to know that you are doing the right thing for you. And that is the thing that is going to motivate you, because without it, society will absolutely try and drag you down.
Joe, it's really interesting that you say that, because like, when we come out from, let's say for me, coming out from the corporate world and then to become, business owners, and then, we have our network, we mix up with, like-minded individuals, I would say. But when we start to do things different within our own investing circles, now we get bombarded by the same crowd of people that said, you can't do that. It's almost like I don't know, like I'm being dragged by something else again, by the peer pressure against it, like, the training we do, some people said, you can't do that, it's not right. So, why are you doing this?
We get it as well, though. We're like, we've had it recently, haven't we, Vic, where we're actually attracting people because they're going, oh my God, you are so different. And I love the energy, and I love this, and I love the fact that when I listen to your podcast, it sounds like you're in my head and you are talking to me. And we're like, well, yeah, because we are talking to you because we are you, and we get to carve out that own path because we are so passionate about it. And it comes back to that point I was just saying, that when you've got that motivation and drive, and you know in your heart of hearts that you are doing it for the right reasons, then again, it's easier said than done. And it sounds like a really flippant comment, but just like, fuck everybody else, just keep doing what you're doing, and you will attract the right people that want to go on that journey with you. And for those that aren't ready, we're like, okay, that's fine. You'll either catch up if you want to, or you won't. And that's fine.
It's fine as well. Yep.
You do you.
Yep.
I think one of the biggest issues here, I don't know about what you see or feel, but without getting bogged down too much in the whole social media world, which I think is to blame for a lot of things, but like the whole comparison thing, everybody's supposedly doing so well and you're at home struggling, scrolling, comparing yourself, and it just beats you down on a daily basis. And it all feeds into this mindset thing, which is always comes at the top. It's always the number one issue. And I occasionally get messages from people, sometimes I post stuff from Spain where I live, and, I'm out on the bike or I'm on the beach or whatever, and I'm just sharing like my life and things I'm doing. And I frequently get messages from people who on the outside look very successful, making money, making good money, on socials looks great, but internally they're really fucking miserable, really unhappy, have no meaning of what they're doing or why they're doing it. And then they're messaging me saying, man, I just, I've got the car, or I've got the big house, I've got this and that, I've got the reputation, but, I'd much rather just be sitting on that bench, watching the sun go down, So you never know what's going on in people's minds, however they look on the outside.
No. And something you said there is so poignant as well. It's that not having a meaning to their life. It's like so many, and although we work with dog trainers predominantly, and they are trying to help people with their dogs, they don't really know what their purpose is. They haven't actually sat down and figured out, what is it I'm trying to do here? What difference am I trying to make, not only to dog owners and me, but to the industry itself? Like, what is my mission? What is my vision? What are my values, and what am I willing to work to? And if you haven't got any of that framework, then how can you possibly run a successful business? Because you are literally going to be grabbing here, there, and everywhere, and comparing yourself to everybody who may be taking a completely different path to you, but you feel like you need to get on their path because they look like they're doing well, so I'm going to do what they're doing. But they might be way ahead of you in business. Like, we have this a lot, don't we, with dog trainers? There's a couple of really good organizations out there that have really flashy socials, and they put these really cool online courses on, and they come to us and go, I want to be them. I want to do that. And I'm like, they've been going a lot longer than you, and they are like, their financial goals are a lot higher than yours at the moment. So we need to start at maybe not at the bottom, but we need to start a lot lower, have our expectations set, and then we can work our way up to that. And what they're trying to do is employ a strategy that is not ready for them yet. And so they're doing it all wrong, and they are feeling really deflated. And that's where you get that comparisonitis coming in, and they're just like, I can't do anything, nothing is working. And it's all that. It's because we feel like they haven't ever sat down and gone, what is it I'm trying to do here? What do I want my business to look like? How do I want my life to look like? What do I want my life to look like? And am I going to stick to that path, or am I just going to keep falling off that path and following what everybody else is doing? So I think the clearer you can get on that purpose and those vision and mission and values, then the easier the whole thing is.
I'm actually a little surprised because of your industry. I would have thought that people would get into doing that kind of a job because they're so passionate about it. They've got just this one laser focused idea of just helping dogs and dogs, which I completely agree with, by the way. But, I'm surprised to hear that they're still be kind of lost as to why they're doing it or what the vision is or what they're trying to achieve. I can believe it with property because a lot of people just come into property, they purely just think it's a good way to make money, but don't really know why or what strategy they're going to do or what purpose they're providing, right? But so that is the case with you. You still get people that are like, don't really know why I'm here.
I think that could be because, like you have your passion and the passion is strong to begin with, but they didn't have a purpose behind it.
Right.
So, and then when you don't have the purpose behind it, you don't have the business side that can help you to get things going. You get consumed by every manual task. You're gonna, like you're the chef, you're the cook, you're the cleaner, you're everything, and that's how things just kind of.
Yeah, it's like you've got a dog and you're like, I love walking my dog. I'm going to start a dog walking business. Then you got 10 dogs and you're like, this sucks. You know, and I keep getting pulled through the mud.
24/7 with the dogs. You can't, no help, paperwork's on top. And
yeah, it does. It becomes an all-consuming thing. Like I remember I got into dog training because I got a husky for my first dog and everyone was like, you fucking idiot. Like, that's not a pet dog. They're not going to be a nice. I was like, I'm going to show you my bit of my personality style. I was like, no, I'm going to make this work. And then I just enjoyed, like, I thoroughly got off on learning dog psychology. And I remember like casting it further back when I do all this reflection work. And I remember liking psychology when I was at school and college. And I never pursued it, but there's clearly that desire in me that I enjoy looking at behavior. So for me, that was the purpose of my dog business when I started it, that I want to give the gift of psychology and behavior understanding to other dog owners. So at the time, without knowing, I was already quite niche because I hadn't gone out and done just blanket dog training for everybody. I mean, there was an element of that, but there was still that angle of, I'm going to teach you about the psychology side of it. Whereas I think for a lot of people, like you say, with the property side, I don't think the dog industry goes in thinking they're going to make money. I think they go into it thinking that we're going to save as many dogs as we can. And unfortunately, it just creates more of a disconnect because they just then get pissed off with people and these dog owners that seemingly don't do anything. And they're the reason that there's all these dogs in shelters, where actually if that purpose bit was a bit more clearer, you'd go, okay, well, if it's my purpose to not get as many dogs in shelters, I need to concentrate on giving owners this particular problem solver, which is the main reason why dogs will end up in shelters. And that becomes your purpose. So I think it's just all about taking it back to what I said earlier. Like, you've got to have that passion and that desire and that motivation to want to push through something other than just making money.
People that you work with, is it mostly female? Is it mixed? Is it quite a female-led industry?
There's a lot of females, but we've had a mixture, haven't we? We've had quite a few men that have been weirdly attracted to working with us, which we wouldn't have thought. Yeah. I think more of a feminine sort of type of man, to be fair. Right. We don't get the, blokey blokes tend to not come to us, but it is very female-led. And I think this is the other problem that you have, really, because, you were talking earlier about the side hustle thing. It's because it's that hobbyist thing. And also, typically, you've got women who've got the support of a man, like they might be the main breadwinner. And so they don't have to put the business hat on as much, and they can just almost like bumble around a little bit with that business and not take it as seriously. And it's almost like that is their fallback. And this is a generalization and it's not everybody. But it kind of was me, actually. I would say that when I started being a dog trainer, my husband earned a lot more than me. And I knew that if nothing worked out, he was going to look after me. Not that I lived my day to day like that, and I never relied on him per se, but I always had that kind of fallback, really, to know that. So yeah, it's kind of almost like empowering people to go like, you can make this work really, really well, and you don't have to rely on anybody else. You can make this business as small or as big or as like reach as far and wide as you absolutely want to. And I think it's that taking the limitations out of it, where so many people are just like, they are so scared to do anything other than the norm. So
I will say that completely agree with that, but I think the caveat to that is you can absolutely do what you just said, but there's definitely, because of the times that we're living in with technology, there are systems, there are things that you must be doing, which you guys are phenomenal at, with the email lists, and the podcasts and the lead generation, all this kind of stuff. You can't just chuck an ad in the Yellow Pages anymore and wait for people to knock on the door, right? So that can be massively intimidating for someone. And again, I can think of people that have all of the skills. If you put someone in front of them, they've got the best like person-to-person skills, like bubbly, charismatic, funny, the actual job they can do. But as far as building the support network around it with all of that other stuff, it's like I wouldn't even know where to start. And I think that's one of the biggest challenges, along with believing you can do it.
Oh yeah.
I think there's a severe lack of. I was going to actually no. I'm going to retract that statement. I think there is an abundance of information out there to the point where it's paralyzing. Yeah. It's like, right, so I need to be doing this, and I need to be doing this, and I need to be doing this. Like even some of the things that you were just reeling off there, like your lead generation, your email lists, your social media. Like social media needs a strategy in itself, depending on what platform you're using. And then your ideal client work. Yeah. And then you've got ads. Which ads do you go down? Do you do like Facebook? Do you do YouTube? Do you do Google? Like what do you do and where? And I think that I'd be lying if I said I wasn't one of these people, because my background was from a marketing agency. That's what I did for like the best part of 13, 14 years. And I knew that all of this stuff existed. So when I left to go and play with dogs all by myself, I was like, oh, I need a shiny website. So I went and invested a fuck ton of money in a shiny website. And I was like, oh, what other teams did I used to work with? I know I need this, and this. And I spent all this money. I was like, I haven't got an audience. So there's no one coming to my shiny website. And I hadn't even thought about who it was that I was trying to target and all of this stuff. So it ended up being a phenomenal waste of money, because actually I just needed to go right back down to basics and go, what do I need and when, and what's the right time to do it? So I think that with all that information out there, I don't think people know where to start. And then they try and do a bit of everything, and then it's overwhelming, and then nothing ends up working. Yeah.
You end up with 8,000 tabs open on your computer going, and your job moves from what you're trying to achieve to just basically just posting here and then looking at a website thing over here. That becomes, you can fill your whole day, 5 days a week, just trying to work shit out.
Yeah. And going back to the social media part, it's a blessing and a curse, isn't it? We're so lucky to have social media, and it's such an, it's a great platform to get your message out there that we didn't have before. But I think people rely on it so much, they've forgotten human connection. They've forgotten to go and speak to people. They've forgotten to reach out and actually talk to their local area, especially because most dog trainers are local, they work in their local area. They've actually forgotten to go and connect with other dog businesses in the area. Like they've got the same people that you want, so go and speak to them. And this is where social media, because they haven't got their purpose, they don't know who they're talking to, they're scattergunning all of this stuff out there, not having a clue what it is they're putting out, not really having any kind of strategy around it, and hoping for the best. And they're getting shit back because it's just not landing with anybody. And again, from experience, this is what I used to do. I used to offer so many things. I didn't know who I was talking to from 1 minute to the next. And in doing that, it lands with absolutely nobody. And you just don't get the numbers. You don't get the great people that you want. You get one occasionally, and then you go, yes, it works. And then for a long time, you don't get any of those again, and you just feel like it's all not working again. So just that lack of strategy around all of those separate things, really, and putting it together as one big strategy.
Yeah. And actually, when you were saying about the yellow pages as well, I was like, I think people have just replaced the yellow pages approach with putting an ad. And when I say an ad, it's like a post saying,
on Facebook,
buy this thing, whatever this thing is, insert problem here. Or like, I remember Darren doing it again. That's my husband. Looking for investors. I'm like, what? What?
And Joe, it's such a common thing.
The stuff?
It's such a common thing as well that, people are like, sometimes, I mean, we spoke with our mentees as well that if you're going to be putting a post out, it has to be valuable. And of course, like targeting to the people that you want to talk to. But let's say, for example, to raise the money, you can't just go out and say like, who wants to give me money?
Yeah, I've never spoken to any of you ever before. Who wants
Give
to
me money. I'm going to make you money.
Yeah.
But it's very similar to dog trainers because they haven't spoken to any of these people. They haven't nurtured them. They haven't made the effort to find out what their problem is. But they've go, here's this thing, buy it. Oh, no one wants to buy it. Oh, that didn't work.
This doesn't work.
That's exactly what their attitude is. So yeah, so common.
You need to
have you guys heard of Daniel Priestley's 7-11-4 model?
No, I know of Daniel Priestley, but not the.
Oh my gosh! Like, look at this. Like, and this will really help your listeners as well. That 7-11-4 model is, in order for somebody to build that know, like, and trust value with you, somebody needs to have consumed at least 7 hours worth of content from you. So if they were to dedicate a day going like, right, I want to work with like Joe and Vicky. Let me go and see what I could find out about them. If they can consume 7 hours worth of content within a day, or whenever you want, but ideally like 7 hours worth of content, then already you're scaling quite high on that trust factor because they get to consume what it is you're doing. Now you need that across 11 different touch points as well. So that could be something like your DMs, your email, your WhatsApp, a video note, a voice note, social media, YouTube, whatever it is. And then the 4-bit, I always forget the 4. I think it's the platforms then. So you need to see it across different platforms. So whether that's your Facebook versus Instagram versus YouTube versus, I don't know, like
podcast.
For us, in a podcast, yeah, or like those, I was going to call them a billboard. It's definitely not a billboard. Those things in parks where you could stick flyers to for like dog trainers.
Community notice board.
Community notice boards. There you go. A community billboard.
Wow.
But all of that, so that 7-11-4 model is something that it's worked really well for us, and it's something that we definitely recommend a lot of people go and look into, so you can make sure you've got that content.
Yeah, I think it's all just bringing it back to basics, right? Like you said, Vicky, that connection, like remembering that you can't just be seen through a computer all the time and just trying to sell stuff and ram stuff down people's throats. Like actually show that you care and help them first.
Yeah, and also because it's a really emotive thing working with the dog trainers. So like we're a massive fan of working with people with dog training for a long time. So that might be like, we've got clients that have been working with us for 2 years. Now, it might look like we're rubbish dog trainers because they're still with us 2 years later. But actually, a lot of that is accountability and keeping up with everything, giving them confidence and all of that sort of stuff. And so, yeah, it's about trying to help people make the right choice for their dog trainer. Because if they don't know anything about you, apart from hi, I'm Vicky, I've got all these things to sell. Okay, well, how is that going to help them make the right choice to work with somebody for a length of time? No, it's the right person, not only for the dog. The dog is a small byproduct, really, of them. It's the client. Like, they need to have that connection with them. And how do they know who it is they're going to be taking on and, potentially paying a substantial amount of money to help them with the outcome? So I think it's almost like a good question to ask our dog trainers and go like, could someone find out anything about you if they tried? And I bet you most dog trainers, when you go on their Facebook pages or their social media, dog picture, dog picture, dog picture, dog picture, dog picture. That's all you're going to see. You're hardly, like, how much of a struggle is it, Joe, to even try and find someone's face, find out what their name is? Like, you see the business name all over the place, but what's your name? Like, are you called Paws Training, or have you got an actual name? Like, so that client is not going to connect with them like we think they will. And that's a big disconnect because we're so in the business, we're so consumed by the business, we don't stop and think, they're a human being, I'm a human being. We need to make sure that that's a good match.
Great advice. Well, look, it's we could speak for hours. You two got so much knowledge and so much value there. I'm definitely going to go back and re-listen to that because, yeah, mindset, bringing it back to a grassroots level, connecting with people and helping people to realize their value and just pulling that out from inside of them, right, that we've all got. But it's over time just gets kind of beaten down and it's, yeah, it just basically disappears. So thanks so much for coming on. I know you got a lot going on as well and you're super busy. So really appreciate the the time.
Yeah. Well, for the dogs owners out there, and how can they find Vicky and Joe?
Yep.
We're gonna put some details in the.
We'll stick all your information in the show notes. So if you want to contact Vicky or Joe at CBA, Canine Business Academy, you'll find their information in the show notes. So
and the super awesome podcast.
And the super awesome podcast. Nearly as good as ours. It's that good.
Really? Yeah.
So cool.
We'll have to get the stats and actually see who's what.
Yeah, let's prove this.
We would, but we don't share our stats. We like to keep them secret. So yeah, guys, thanks so much for listening and watching at home. And again, Vicky and Joe, thanks for joining. Until next week, we'll see you then on another episode of the Airbnb Blueprint Podcast. Take care.